Hi, Lacers. How's it going? Bonnie Violet here, a queer chaplain, and we are at day 14 of our Lacing Your Narrative with a Spiritual Thread live stream workshop series. This week we are focusing on when did you feel most connected to your spirit, or when did you feel most connected to God? Those sorts of things. If you are new or aren't completely aware and you're curious to know more about this, do check the links in the description. Otherwise, I'm just going to go forward. So, when do you feel most connected to your spirit? Yesterday, I shared a story of kind of joy and bonding when I was married and my wedding date, and how that connected, that spiritual kind of bonding and connection took place. And today, I'm going to share something that's a little bit more. It's a different type of connection, or a different time of connection, a more difficult time, if you will. So let's see. So where to begin? So a few years back, about 7 years ago, I got a call from my family, and my nephew had not woke up, I guess. He had stopped breathing in the night. He had been rushed to a hospital in Twin, I believe, and then he was life flighted to Boise. I was living in Chicago at the time, and I was told that things were very, very serious, and I needed to hop on a plane as quick as I could to get to Boise. At that time, I was pretty new to Chicago. I was just getting settled in, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew I needed to get there really quick. And fortunately for me, I had a boss at the time that she bought me a ticket to get to Boise, and I got to Boise within 8 hours, which I think is in its own kind of like this. Might be something I can talk about a little bit more, but I really felt like in this particular situation, actually, to be honest with you, I felt like everything and a lot of things in my life had lined up in a way in which I could really respond and show up in a way that I don't think I could have, maybe even a year before that, or I had been 3 years sober. I was in a really good place, spiritually and mentally, just in a really almost like a high space with my spirituality and my connection, and was just in a really good place of recovery. And I got this call to go to Idaho to be with my nephew. And I remember getting to the hospital and getting into the ICU and getting to see my little nephew, who I hadn't seen for about 3 months. I had met him right after he was born. He was my first nephew, actually, that I held as a baby. I had a couple before then, but I was nervous about holding babies. For whatever reason, I was able to go and meet Wyatt ahead of time, and I held him and bonded with him and connected with him right after he was born. When I saw him again, he was in ICU, and he had all these wires, and he had all these things that were happening to him, and he'd had to have dialysis, and he had been without oxygen for a really long time. My mother had given him mouth-to-mouth CPR, and there was so much that's happening, and they didn't know if there was brain damage, and they just didn't know what was going on with this little guy, and if he did come out of it, what kind of condition he'd be in. And I remember just getting there and feeling completely powerless over my nephew, and completely I didn't know what the best result was in that moment. And I just, for whatever reason, I think some people talk about this, I don't know, I just felt you know what? I don't know. I was just kind of this idea of okay, I'm not in control now. I don't have the power to have anything to do with this little boy and whether he survives or how he survives or the condition that he's going to be in. But I knew that what I wanted to do, basically I said, okay, God, this is on you, and just help me show up for my family. And so I was able to show up for my little brother as his oldest brother. I was able to show up for my nephew. I was able to show up for my parents and just kind of the family in general. And it was really interesting because usually I would get very like caught up in self, like I would be too scared or I'd be nervous or I'd be worried about what other people were thinking or just a lot of different things. And those things all just kind of slipped away. And I just kind of like showed up in the best way that I could um, for my family. And eventually my nephew was able to get to a space in which we could do an MRI CAT scan. And we learned that he was brain dead, that he didn't have, that he had been without oxygen on his brain for too long. And so we had decided my brother and his wife had decided that they needed to let him go and take him off of the machines. And I was in the room when they talked with my little brother about that. And they offered, I don't know, when babies die in that particular situation, they ask if anyone would like to hold the baby. And my brother and my brother's wife they weren't really there yet. I don't know. I just said, well, I'll do it if you want me to, like, I'll do it. I'll be willing to do it. Which is something that was not of me. Like, of course I'd want to do that for my brother. And of course I'd want to do that for my nephew. But like in my way of thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, can you do this? But I didn't even hesitate. And I just said I would do it. And when it came time, we were in the room. It was me and my brother and my dad and Wyatt, my nephew. My brother's wife, Melinda, Wyatt's mother, had chosen to not be there. She didn't feel like she could be there for that. And so she had left the hospital and my mother was with her, I believe, or it was me and my dad and my brother in the room. And I was sitting in a chair and my dad was I think he was on the right side behind me and my brother was on the other side behind me. And they took Wyatt off. They took Wyatt out of the ICU bed and off the machine, or gave him to me. And then we took him off the machines and I held him until he took his last breath. And it was, I hope this isn't too much for people, but I held him and he started to turn like almost a black, purple, blue color. And then he just did a little kick on my arm and he stopped breathing. His little heart, though, wouldn't stop beating. His heart kept beating. And his mother had decided that she wanted to be there. She had changed her mind and she had happened to show up in the room and he had stopped breathing, but his heart was still beating. And I was able to hand him over to her and he ended up with his heart stopping in her arms. And I remember leaving the room then at that time so my brother and his wife could tend to Wyatt. And I remember going to the ICU. You just get so used to washing up anytime you go anywhere. And I got to the sink to wash up to leave, and I started to wash up, and then I was like, I didn't want to wash him off of me. Like I didn't want to wash. I felt his energy in me, to be honest with you. Like I felt his energy in my arms. I felt connected, like there was just some sort of like spiritual connection to him. And I didn't want to let it go. I remember I walked out from the cleaning area and I went out in the hallway and I just like embraced my arms like this and just held him. And that's when I finally just kind of like lost it and cried a lot. I felt him, and I still feel him in my arms whenever I want to connect with him. I actually got a tattoo, if I can catch it in here, on my arm after he passed away, because that's a lot of what we do when people die in our family. And it says, "Be still and know." And "be still and know" is like it's in the Bible actually. It's "be still and know that I'm God" or something like that. But I stopped at the be still and know. And I felt like that was a practice that I really had to, or that I got to put into play. When I got there at the ICU bed, it was basically just like, I know that I just knew that I didn't know what to do in that situation, and just to be still and just to show up in whatever way I needed to do. And then it led to, my nephew, my brother was in a new marriage, and they were Mormon, and my family were not Mormon. And so there was kind of this, families had different ways of mourning and different ways of kind of handling death. And so I found myself in the middle of the two families, as kind of the in between, that I would do whatever needed to do. I don't know. I just found myself kind of in the middle and in between, and it felt very natural and very okay. And a part of me was really shocked because I'd felt like I was like an outsider, because like I was queer, because like all these sorts of things, because I lived a way that somehow I was like not, I don't know, seen in that light by my family and stuff, which was just like whatever. But it was awesome to kind of find myself in that tween to kind of help. And it was beautiful to also see one family have this way and another family have this way, and see some of the similarities. And then also being able to kind of bridge the two to where, my family ended up going to some of the more Mormon activities, and the Mormon side of the family went to some more of the, like my family will, we throw a party and we remember and we talk about and we celebrate the person's life. It's a little bit different than like a service in like a temple or to the side of the temple. But another way that I felt really surprised in how I was able to show up, and I felt like this is because I was really connected to God and my purpose. And I don't know, I just felt like I could have just kind of show up. And my nephew, in Mormon tradition, they do viewings where you hold babies. And like, if people are coming to the viewing, then they hold the baby as well. This was something that was new to me. I'd never experienced anything like that. And actually, I don't know that I'd ever really been, I recall being to like a funeral of a baby either, but they needed somebody to hold him through that process. And so I was able to hold him and take care of him in a very special like way. The sound system ended up like not working at the funeral service there. And so like I actually started singing the song because the music wouldn't work. And it was just like this little light of mine. But I really feel like because I was like connected to, like, because I had been sober a while, because I had been in recovery, because I had a connection with God, because I was kind of able to let it go once I got there. I was able to connect with Wyatt's spirit. I was able to connect with so much. It was just such a, like, if I were to label the experience, I would call it beautiful and tragic. It was such a gift to get to be there for Wyatt and to take care of him, and to be there for my brother and his family and my parents. And it actually is what really caused me to really push the idea of being a queer chaplain, of being around people around death and dying, to self. And particularly, I think with queer people is kind of where I'm landing now, but I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, it kind of changed a little bit at some point in time. But that's one of the, I guess, more, sometimes people refer to God, G-O-D, as a gift of desperation. And I don't think I was desperate for some sort of thing outside of myself. I just felt that was real, and that there was more going on. Like, it wasn't just that I was hoping there was, it was actually that I felt connected to all of that, in a way that I don't recall I ever felt before, and I don't know if I've felt it again. But um, it definitely changed me. It's it's changed me. That little guy, his name was Wyatt Hades, which is light in the darkness, and he definitely has been a big light in my darkness. But I think in a lot of our lives and our families as well. And obviously that's just like my reflection of my experience with it. There's so much more to it than that. But it was a time that I felt really out of myself, radically present though, um, and available in a way that I didn't ever think was possible. And I do believe that like I was able to do that because of some sort of spiritual connection, um, especially for the duration and the impact of the whole time. So, anywho, I guess that's my share for today of when I felt most connected to spirit, or God, or whatever it is. And so I'm hoping that, I don't know, good luck on your exploration of recalling when you felt connected. And I will see you all tomorrow. If you are interested, I am getting ready to do the Splintered Grace podcast at 10:30 here in just about an hour or so. We are actually talking about passion and purpose. And yeah, I'm going to go and let you go. I'm going to put some lips on. Sorry, I didn't have any lips on for you this morning or any eyebrows yet, but she's in mid transition. So take care, and I'll play that outro, and you have a great day. Bye.